Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar here. Today, we're going to be going over Unreal and specifically animating in Unreal. And today, we have a special guest, Ethan Hurd, who's going to be going over all of the cool stuff. We've also got Mars and Tim, who are the Animation Mentor student success coaches here at AM. So if you have any questions about Animation Mentor or anything like that, definitely feel free to ask those. But you're not here to see me, so I'll toss it over to Ethan Hurd and let him start the presentation. So Ethan, take it away.
All right, great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Cool. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. Thank you for taking the time to join. I can see a lot of people coming in from lots of different countries. That's great. It's really good. I appreciate it, especially I know it's very late for some people. I get that. So I wanted to teach this class here. Let me just go ahead and share my screen. Share screen, share this one. Yeah, let's go ahead. So I've been wanting to teach this webinar for a while now. I wanted to kind of introduce Unreal Engine as an animation tool, as an animation software that you guys could use. Unreal has had some really smart and very talented people working on the animation tools at Epic, and the animation tools have come a long way, and it's become a real viable piece of animation tool. And there's some advantages of working in real time. There's some advantages of working in a game engine that kind of that us animators can kind of take advantage of, kind of like utilize that to kind of do new storytelling or new kind of experiences here. But I've always felt like the gateway to entry to getting into animation, like the start, like posing and setting keyframes, was a little on the high side, just a little on the high side, and it's slightly technical. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to do like a webinar class to kind of introduce these people to the software. So this class is really geared towards anybody who maybe never opened Unreal before, like they've never even kind of installed it or seen it, or maybe you have used Unreal but never used the animation tool, or maybe you're just kind of curious and want to know more. So um, I'm free to answer questions along the way, especially if you guys have like questions like you want to see something again, or if you want me to do something. If you have something more elaborate question, definitely save it to the end. I'll try to save some time at the end, definitely to pick up something that's bigger, more elaborate on that. So, but anyway, quickly just about me, kind of introducing myself. I'm just gonna move this window to here, over there. Okay. Well, then I did that. So about me, you can see my profile on Animation Mentor's page, but I'm a character animator. I've been working in character animation for roughly 25 years or so. Uh, Most of my experience has been working in animated feature films, but I've also worked in television and VFX, and I have a little bit of game experience, a little slight video game experience on there. And obviously I'm one of the mentors, Animation Mentor. Last year, I got to attend the Unreal Fellowship. That's Epic's kind of class on how to animate in Unreal. Great experience. A lot of stuff I learned. I'm kind of bringing to this class here, which is really good. Okay, so this is basically the syllabus. This is basically what we're talking about. So at the beginning, I just want to kind of cover some really basic concepts. Um, if you've ever used a game engine before, some of this might be really obvious, but if you've never used a game engine before, if you only used a package like Maya or something, these are just some basic ideas to kind of wrap your head around the differences between animating in the software package versus animating in a game engine, right? Just some little things just kind of get your head around. Then I want to kind of go up like on the setup, kind of go into the settings and general orientation of like, getting around inside Unreal. Obviously getting into animation. I'm not going to show you how to animate, but I'm just going to show like basic animation stuff. I definitely want to cover play blasting because you want to render your shot so you can use it to cut to reel together or storytelling or whatever. And then I'm briefly going to touch on some of the advantages of using a game engine in animation. I don't have enough time to cover everything for the advantages, but I want to basically get you guys started and get you set up here. So, all right. Um, Jumping into some basic concepts here. So in a package like Maya or Blender or something like that, you basically you have a software that you open up and then you load in your files into that software package and you animate away and you save them out as files that kind of exist outside the software package. That's kind of the basic way on Unreal. Sorry, basic way that most software packages work. Unreal being a game engine, everything exists inside the content. Like it all exists inside here. So the idea again, because it's a game engine, you're trying to develop a video game for other people to play. Um, so you want everything to kind of exist inside that game, right? So if I am playing Zelda, I want to make sure that the world of Zelda kind of exists in there, and as well as the character exists in there. And so that kind of like it's an idea that you kind of need to kind of wrap your head around of getting that everything you do exists inside the package. So when you save it, you're actually saving out the entire package, and then when you load it in, you're loading in the entire package, right? So the basic idea is everything exists in the content folder, and you can see the content folder is right here. You can see like all the files and everything exists on all in here, props, schematics, characters, whatnot. And you could find these on your folder. If you just right click and say show and explore, you could actually find the location of them because they do still exist in separate files on the folder there because your stuff. But the way to think about it is from like an animation perspective is just everything exists in this kind of content folder right there. So so everything kind of exists in there. So then why this is important, that why it's important is like usually when we're saving, when I do animation, I may save versions or save iterations of a shot, like version one, or here's all my blocking, here's my first pass of animation. Everything exists in the same file. And if I want to kind of do a version, I'm going to actually just kind of duplicate that file. I'm going to make a new one, and I'm going to say like Rain Stew version one, which will currently, these two are exactly the same, but as soon as I open up this new one and make changes, then there's going to be differences between them. But both these still exist inside the engine, right? They kind of exist in there. So it's kind of a concept to kind of wrap your head around to kind of get your stuff in there. So, all right, getting started in animating Unreal. Um, First thing you need to do before you start animating is you have to create the world. You have to create the level, right? And then you can create the sequence. And once you've done those two, then you could start animating. So the world you could think of as like the background. If you're in 2D animation, that's the environment. It's the sky, the lights, the world and stuff. The characters can exist in the world, but sometimes they exist in the sequencer. We'll get into that. But the sequencer is actually like the time, like it's what you actually animate. So let me just show you what that means. Kind of jump into here. So levels, again, you could file structure, organize this any way you want. I kept this simple for this demo, but I'm going to say I'm create a level. So basically, I'm in this level folder. You could go in any folder you want, but I can just right click, say level, and I'm going to say my level. You can see I have a bunch of these because I was practicing my new level two, right? So I'm going to say that, and yeah, that's fine. Uh, it just wants you to save everything you've done before. So this is your level. Obviously, it's blank. It's because nothing exists in your level. There's no lights, there's no environment, there's nothing here. So first thing you got to do is create something. So and if you go up into here, this is a quick select for bringing in environments. You can also drag environments for if you already have them existing, but just for demo purposes, quickly, I'm just going to drop in a plane. So plane exists in here. Obviously, we can't see it because there's no lights. I'll make this a little bit bigger because it's going to come in small, make it 60. And then from here, I'm just going to create some lights. So let's get like a point light here on this. So now we could see that we're getting something in here. Again, I get into that and bring my light up. And if I want more lights in here, I could literally just duplicate this, Control D, duplicate, and I could change these colors. But you can see right away, you can actually get something that feels kind of cool because you can get some fun stuff in here. So obviously there's nothing ready to animate here, but let's give it something a little bit more. Let's give it a shape. Let's give it like a cube here, and I could actually go into here and bring in my cube. And let's go ahead and bring in a character here. Let's bring in, let's see my assets, characters, Stuart. I can bring in Stuart here and here. And you can see like this, if you don't know the way Unreal is set up here. This is like my outliner. This kind of shows me all the stuff that exists in my outline. This tells me the levels that I'm using. You could actually have multiple levels if you want. Just for this intro purposes, we're going to use one level. You have the outliner and everything is right here. Down here is all the way it interacts with the characters and stuff like that. At this point I've only done is I created a level here. I've created this thing in here. I can't yet animate this stuff here. So what I need to do next, I need to create the sequence. So like if we go back to that slide, create the level, create the sequence, and then I could start animating. So if I go back to here, sequences. I'm going to create a new sequence. It's under cinematics here. Create level sequence. I'm going to say my new sequence two. Two. All the same thing. It's usually the idea. And here, now this starts to feel familiar because now we have a timeline to work with, right? Um, but I still can't animate this stuff because they don't exist in here yet. And this is basically anything that exists in the outliner. Just need to add it to the sequencer so I can start animating. So I can like grab that cube, throw it in here, and now I could do what we're comfortable with. I could actually set keyframes. It works the way you're doing it. Hit the S key to save a key, go to a different frame, go in here, hit the S key, save another key, go in here, kind of grab this on here. You guys are familiar with kind of what you're seeing on this basic idea here of saving the saving thing here too. I could do this even with lights. Some of these have special features. Here I could have the intensity. I could talk about how intense this is. And I could actually just animate that, so I could have this like grow with intensity as we get to the shot. So you could see I could start getting to different things. I could even change the color as we go through here, getting some different effects here. So if you can add it to the shot, you basically can start animating the stuff here. So you could see like you just do something like this, right? Really basic here, but that's kind of gets you started on here. Um, then I have my character. I could add him to the sequence. But he's going to be a little bit different on here. There's a couple things I want to do. So I want to introduce the idea of things that exist in the sequence and things that exist in the level here. So it's you see I dragged I have a folder here. I kind of just dragged him over the same way you would drag him in from the outliner, drag him up here. I've just dragged him into the sequence. So my other character, if I Stewie characters, which one's all the way over here? Bring him over here. This guy only exists in the sequence, while the other one exists in the level. So it's important to know because if I open up the level, I'm not going to have any characters because these characters only exist in the sequence. They're spawnable, considered spawnable things. And you can see this like lightning bolt thing here. So it's just making sure these important on here. The advantage of this is because I can reuse my level. If I have a complex environment, I have all this stuff. I don't have to have the characters in the scene all the time. If they only exist in the sequence, I can have them kind of coming in. I could reuse the background over and over again. But then again here, so go back to here. I First question you probably ask yourself is like, how do I actually pose this character out? How do I actually move them around and get them? There's nothing here. Um, this is the tricky thing about using a game engine opposed to using like Maya or something. The skeletons and the rigs exist kind of independently of each other on here. So right now we're just looking at a model, and if I load up the skeleton, this is what the skeleton looks like. It's a standard game engine type skeleton. If you're ever wondering if a rig will work inside Unreal, you just need to make sure it's a game ready rig. You can just literally Google search game ready rigs, and you could find these rigs here. And this is kind of the fully posable. It's all a fully FK skeleton system. But and then the rig is going to list independently of that. It's actually you have a because they're separated because game engines require them to be separated. You actually, as an animator, I could take advantage of some of the cool features here. So if I go back to here and bring them, here's my control rig. We'll load in this. Maybe there we go. I was going to crash for a second. Be perfect. All right, so my control rig is here, and this has the skeleton existing underneath it. But this is what you're familiar with seeing is a control rig, is what you're used to seeing on a character here. So in the level, first thing I need to do is I need to add the skeleton, which it's called whatever the skeleton was called here. So here is FBX 02. So you can tell it's a skeleton because it's got the skeleton feature right here. And then from here, I can add that control rig. So I can say my control rig right there. And now I have my control rig. And here's where I can actually start animating the character. Right, I can start jumping in and posing and setting keyframes on your character like that. So I can set it from here to here. So if I could want to jump this character, whoop, grab the wrong control. I'll go through some of these tools, but I just want to kind of get used to the idea of this kind of thing here. So grab these controls, get them to start feeling, looking around like that. And so again, it's just like standard, keyframe animation. You can just start animating your characters in here. But the cool thing is like because they're separate from each other, because the rigs and controls are separate from each other, I literally can just say Control C, and this guy I need to give him a skeleton, which is there, and Control V. Whoop, wrong one. I'll keep wanting to do the name. There you go, Control V. Now they both have the same animation because they both share the same they both have the exact same rig behind them, but because the rig and the animation can be separated from each other, that you can actually do some interesting features in here, some interesting ideas here, which I can jump in to this level here. Animation testing, it's fine. Sequences like this, so you can actually do some pretty cool features here. I don't need you. I'm going to make you disappear. I'm going to add actor hidden in game. Just disappear you for now. It's good. So here, I just create a quick little walk cycle with the guy looking around, kind of going in here, right? So I have some fun with him here. Now, when you first open up the sequence, you're going to be like, "Where's my rig? My rig doesn't exist." It's because you're still in selection mode, right? And so, two ways you could do this: you just go animation mode, and your rig will show up, or if you click on any of the controls, the rig will show up and start animating here. But because these control rigs are separate from the skeleton things, I could actually do some cool features here. I could actually add multiple control rigs. And if I just do the plus mode here, so this is the control rig for the character, it's all these rig controls. Hit that plus mode, and I can say additive. And this is just like layers that you have in Maya, where I now have two control rigs. And on this one, let's say I want him to be looking at the other guy the entire time he's walking. So if I get this character here looking at this guy while I was walking along, just go ahead and set a key. I don't think I set this kid key on that head yet. Maybe I want to give him a little bit of twist like that. Set a key there. And now I have the same animation. Again, just like any other additive layer, you could have multiple things on this one. And if I don't like this, I was like, I don't like this additive thing I have, I could just literally just delete this. If I actually hit the delete key, there we go. And then it's gone, or I can undo it and kind of bring it back on this kind of thing there too. Um, and then some of the other features you could do here, because now that I have this animation on this character, I have one animation of a character walking. I could actually go in here and right click on the skeleton. You want to do this to the skeleton and say bake to animation sequence. And I, find a folder I want to put it in. I could just say okay and kind of bake this to an animation sequence here. And the animation sequences is usually what games use to kind of have the characters run around and stuff. You could see the animation sequences I have here. So here's my character walking around. That's my guy walking around. Here's the one of the guy holding the tray, kind of getting into that kind of thing. And you could do as many of these sequences as you like, so they kind of independently exist in this. And I could then go in here and add both those to the same rig over here. So now I have the lower body on here is him walking around while the upper body is doing the tray thing. So you could get this reuse of animation very quickly. And I could say this is not perfect. Like this is not hooking up ideally because the upper body on him is doing one set of animation, the lower body is doing here. So I need to add a little bit of animation to him. Now there's two ways I could go about doing this. I could go in here and say bake to control rig. Baked control rig. It's just the same way. Load in the rig here, and this will do is it'll put a key in every single frame on the character on control rig, which it then can go edit and get there. But that's kind of a pain. I don't really need to do that. What I can do here is I could do control rig, turn on layered, and then pick my character. And now I have a layered version. So all the animation that is still there and it still exists on him. But now I can go ahead and start animating a little bit of offset. So like as he's coming, so I'll save a key here, as he's coming down, Maybe I want to grab both him and the head. So here, save these as he's coming down. I'll have him go up a little bit, right? And then as he kind of comes back up again, maybe want the head to kind of snap down. So I want like a little bit of overlapping animation here. You can see like I could start building up all that kind of additive animation that I didn't get the first time as I did this kind of thing. So I'm just getting a little bit of that thing. So you could see like you could start to take advantages of what game engines can do on here. Obviously, you could still do this with layered animation and on other things, but there's kind of intuitiveness that kind of works with some of this that kind of works really well. Now, I kind of jumped ahead because you're probably like looking at like how do I get to some of these animation tools and stuff. By the way, there's a graph editor right here. The way you open up so the sequencer is where all your files exist. This is feels a little bit like a spreadsheet, and you can see like this is where all the controls are. If I want to select the control, I could just select it here, or I could select it on the rig itself, or I could use a picker to kind of pick the characters I want here. Actually, need to reload that. There we go on this. So I could find my picker in here. I can grab the character here and kind of grab multiple characters going that way. But we should jump into some of the basic ideas here. So, all right. So one of the first things I recommend doing, like once you've installed Unreal and kind of have Unreal running on there, I do recommend going to the Epic Marketplace and just downloading their controller rig sample pack. It gets you to animating the characters the first time as quickly as you want. So you either do that by Googling Unreal Marketplace Control Rig Sample Pack, or going to this website. And obviously, the website's a bit long, but you get this help back, and honestly, these two rigs would be the best ones to kind of start off using, kind of getting them to work in there is good to go on that kind of thing. But installing Unreal really easy. Just again, install the Epic launcher. You have to go to Epic and download the launcher. Once you have the launcher going, then you could install Unreal from the Epic launcher. There's lots of ways of going down that too. So, but there are once you get Unreal open, there are some settings I really highly recommend you do to kind of get Unreal to feel a little bit more comfortable for your experience for animating. The first thing I recommend is honestly using the new TRS gizmo on here. This basically is the gizmo is this feature, this tool, this way of interacting with the character here, right? Of course, I have multiple things selected. Let's do that. So it's this little kind of gizmo feature right there. And the way you get all your settings here is under editor preferences, and again, translate, rotate, scale. It comes off by default, so you won't be here. But you basically just then turn it on again. Otherwise, you kind of get Epic's the original manipulator. This manipulator is far more kind of user friendly. I find if when you install this the first time and it doesn't run right away, one of the things I do recommend doing is switch to game mode and then back out of game mode, because I have found this is a bit of a bug. Game mode is you're just hitting the G button on the keyboard and then turn it back on again, and it'll pop right back up. You could also just do this game view. This same thing. It does the same thing here. So it will kind of like if you ever have a problem kind of jumping in there, that is a way to get there. But again, turn on this. Highly recommend that. Um, these are also important. They're less important because this gizmo kind of takes care of it. But you want to turn on arc ball rotate, screen rotate, and middle mouse pan. Middle mouse pan just kind of as I'm moving this character around, you want to you just be able to invert this. It makes it feel much like other software packages that you've used before. So it makes your life easier. The arc ball and the screen rotate literally is this stuff. Like it's when I grab here and it does multiple rotations at once. That's kind of the what it's doing, as well as this is like a screen rotate, right? This is kind of what you're used to with you get the screen rotate going like that on that. So getting those to work is good. Other things to keep in mind, Unreal comes in with snapping already turned on, so all these will be turned on, and it just basically snaps the rotations and translates to whole numbers. So you want to like make sure you get these turned off, as well as uh, one of the things like level viewports, this is a small thing. Like if you have a camera in here, um, I can close this. I introduce the idea of a camera. So again, what's one thing you probably want to do? Camera cuts on here. Here's my camera. If I introduce this camera in here, um, a lot of times when you select the camera, let's see if I can get out of this. Select that camera. So it does this. See that viewport thing right here? So every time I select this camera, so if I turn off this camera, this shows me what's going on in the camera. It's kind of cool, but honestly, a lot of times I feel like it gets in the way. So I recommend just going to viewport selected, turning the preview camera off on there. You can always turn it back on again when you need it on there. The other thing I recommend doing is go in and turning on the content editors. This left mouse does marquee. So if you just do left mouse, it'll come up with all these things again in your settings. This basically lets you do this. Lets you kind of select multiple things at once, and it does it in multiple windows here, right? So you just want to make sure you're able to do that. It's off by default, but it's super important. So those are kind of the system settings here. Sequencer settings, I'd recommend getting some of these sequencers set up. Again, auto expand on node unselection. This basically just opens up these folders as you select things. I find it a little bit annoying. I like to keep it off by default, and so I open things when I want to open them to get that feel there. Link curve editor and timeline. This is a thing. I usually work with multiple windows, so I don't normally have all this stuff all in one window. But if I want to pan around here, this basically links these two together. So as I move around here, you can see like my keys and everything kind of are one to one as I'm in here. So as I pan around through both these windows, they kind of link them together. It's what I'm more comfortable with. Honestly, most of the time I have both of these together, and I'm running on both of the same window. And you can always reorganize your stuff this way. You can always just kind of drag things around. This is what my left monitor usually looks like. It looks like this. So I have both these things open at the same time, kind of running through here. It just makes my life a little easier to do it that way. You can always just drop things back down here. So we just drop them right back in there. And then keep playhead and scrubbing. This is just a simple thing of like you want to make sure that you don't scrub outside of your timeline. It just makes my life easier because I just want to go to frame one. I just got frame one on there. So auto key is right here. Is usually it's turned on by default. So there's but you do need to make sure you're in 24 FPS. It defaults to 30, and it's a little bit of a pain in the ass to go back to 24 because Unreal does a really good job of maintaining your timing when you switch from 30 to 24. It kind of preserves your animation speed on there, but it does put your keys on subframes, which I don't like. So um, it's a good reason for doing it, but it is a little bit of a struggle. You want to make sure you're doing all that stuff in there. So um, all right, cool. Let's get into some animation tools on here because that is something you want to kind of get comfortable with. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to go actually to the box testing here. Don't say if it's fine. A second. So this one I've loaded in these characters. So these are the ones, again, that you notice no rigs are here. If I just go to the box and kind of select on a rig, all the rigs will pop right in. And getting to this feature, this box guy is really pretty cool as a rig. And you can save a key. Again, I can select the whole thing. Right here, like that. What the heck? Let's bring Stewie back in here. Give me a second. Bring Stewie in here. Because some of these features are important to know. So you bring him in, like just I did before, go up in skeleton. From the skeleton, I'm going to give him the control rig. Like there. Okay. So some of these features you might know. So if you've used Animbot, you will recognize some of these tools right off the bat. The tween machine, honestly, tweener is one I've used all the time. So again, if I save a key here, let's do his arm. One cool thing is if you hit select, this turns off the ability to select your geometry, which makes light being an animator much easier. So if I let's make this guy feel like he's being really strong. So let's go ahead and save keys on him here, like this. I want to do that. For this. So here, so I'm gonna save some keys on this character. He's gonna show off his muscles. Right. So one of the first things I want to do is I want his hands to be in default. I want to kind of get them in some fists, right? So I save a key on everything. What I could do is actually have the pose tool, poses right there. Um, Stewie poses. So if I grab this, and you might recognize this from, if you're using any kind of pose tool here, like pose library, I think is similar to this. But I can go in here and I can actually select controls. So it's going to select all the controls involved with that pose, and I could paste this pose. Right. So now I got a fist in here. And it's got a cool thing because I could actually like do a slider to kind of see how much of a fist I want to have here and kind of get that to feel good like that. Like save a key on here because I've got all the keys controlled, and then it's got the mirror function as well. So if I want to do this, I do need to select the controls, and then I could just dial this in to how much of a fist I want to put that in that pose there. So I can get a real nice fist here. So he's got two fists here. So now he's gonna look really strong. Of course, I didn't save a key. Base pose, select controls, base pose. There we go. So there we go. So now we got like this, and then he's gonna raise his arms a little bit. Feel really strong coming in like this. So I got two keys coming up and down. Beautiful animation, right? Perfect. Oh, by the way, if you want to get rid of all these extra features here, you can hide all the sprites. That way, I don't have to deal with all the extra like I can always turn back on if I need to work on the lights again. Here, get this character feeling good. And just like Maya, if I want to kind of middle mouse drag back here, I can. I could save a key here, and so now I'm holding this. So now he's down like this. It's down, feeling strong. Like it's like hulking out like that. So now I have all the controls selected. Now on these in betweens here. So if I go here to here, I save a key and everything just to be clean. Then I can go in here and tween machine. I could decide how I want these in betweens to be. So this one can then favor the top, or I could favor the bottom. Kind of getting this tween machine here, so I can get that kind of thing. And when you're looking at the graph editor here, you can actually play around with some of these controls. If you want to do normalized, this will actually make your life a little easier to look at like that. But you have all these different features of ways you can do these tween machine stuff here. So you can get this to feel this way. I want to grab these. I want to kind of like favor one side or the other. I can use different ways of kind of adjusting these in betweens to kind of favor them all. And you can see the different features here. So blend to neighbor kind of blends once the neighbor, push pull to kind of push my curves and pull them. Experiment with them. Honestly, blend to neighbor is what I use. That does most of my work here. Um, uh, Blend ease is a good thing for doing multiple keys, and smooth rough kind of tweaks the animation here. Those are the three I kind of used the most on here. So does that make sense so far? That's good.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's making sense so far.
Cool. Other things on here. So let's bring in a cube shapes. If I bring in a cube here, of course I need to add this to my outliner. Now, if I want this cube to kind of roll a little bit, you have this other tool here. We get the snapper. So, um, where's my cube? Oh, it's because I've turned this off. That's why I can't find it. There it is. Cube. There's my cube. So I'm going to save a key on the cube. If I want this cube to roll, it's hard to do because I rotate this way and translate like that way, and that's not really good. It's not really going to get me what I want in here. That's why you have the pivot point. You can actually change where the pivot point is. I can actually decide this pivot point is going to be down here. And again, if you use Animbot, like this will seem very familiar to you on this thing. And then now I could pose this feature, and I still have the ability to pose this thing here, but then I have this new ability here. So if I save a key here, they go a few frames forward, I can actually have it kind of start to tilt up on that edge. Now, what it's doing is it's not actually changing the rig at all. I could do this on the character's hands. I could do it on the head. I could do it wherever I need to do. What it's doing is it's shoving all this information into this control here. And you'd actually see this if I look at the transform, the location here. If I go forward a little bit and pivot more, it's translating it up as well as rotating it down while preserving that pivot point here. But that allows me to kind of make things feel like they're pivoting from a location here. Once I click off of this and kind of come back to it again, it's back to my normal controls again on there. I could always get it back if I do the pivot point, so my pivot's still preserved right there if I need to make any edits and tweaks to it. But it's non-destructive. It kind of allows you to do little tweaks like here on this, on that kind of thing. Other tools that you have here at your disposal, you have a snapper. So if I create a ball, oops, shapes, bring this ball in here, and I'm going to add this ball to here. Doop, doop. Did I not add it? I don't think I added it. There we go. Anyway, I could add this to his hand. Yeah, I didn't add it. Oh, there it is. Okay, you are there. Okay. I can put this in his hand. This is what this is what the snapper does. I'm going to go here. I'm going to say Snapper. Snapper is this really great feature that if you use this before, you basically decide the child is, let's go back to frame one. Okay, let's bring this back down. Oop, I keep grabbing the wrong thing. Bring this in his hand right there. I'm going to say this child is the sphere, and I'm going to say this hand is the parent. And it's like constraints, but what it's going to do is just going to put some keys here. Definitely want to keep offset on if you want to maintain this relationship, and then rotate in position is always a good idea. And then I like to have all frames here. And what you could do, and it's the full frame range here. So I'm going to say snap animation, and it takes a beat to do, but then there it is. Now the ball and the hand are kind of linked together. And it's again, you still have parents. You can still do attaches and parenting and stuff in here. But this is a quick way to kind of get two things kind of follow each other on here. Again, this is great for characters shaking hands or doing some large volume stuff like that. It makes things a little easier, and then I don't have to worry about turning on off constraints on things. I can just get things to follow one thing to another. So again, Fused and Anibot, all those tools are right there to jump into. So, okay, the Snapper Picker Pose Library, yeah. Oh, trails. One last thing, the trails. This is again, this is like if again, this is like editable motion trail. Um, you could turn on trails here, and this basically shows you where the character is moving to. So if I go here, grab the wrong thing. I should get rid of some of these keys so you can see this a little bit better. So you can see there's my edible motion trail. That's my path between the two things going there. But it's got this really cool feature here where you could actually do the show the marks. So if I actually use my swing machine here to favor one side over the other, it actually shows you, let's do more extreme in that. It actually shows you the in-betweens. You could actually see how it's easing in, easing out of these features. So if I set this to linear, you actually get a visual idea of like how much your spacing is going in there. So you could actually find your pops and your animation. You could actually do all these things here. And you still have the ability to adjust these poses as well. Adjust these keys. So if I select this one here, I can move this one up here. So if I need to like tweak and move things around, I have that ability to do this. But it has really cool features. So now you can see like how that's changed that curve on there. So of course my ball is attached, so it's going there. So other things to keep in mind, if you do use Epic's um, rigs, the control rigs here, they have special tools like this, and these are unique to Unreal. I have not seen these in a lot of software packages here. They have these what they call proxy controls, and so it works very much like that pivot, artificial pivot point over here. So if I grab this control, if I rotate this box around, it rotates like I would expect it to in the middle of the character, right? But there's this proxy control here. I grab this, I'm going to save a key here, move forward, save a key there. If I do this, it's going to kind of rotate from the edges. So actually, let me do this. This part about live demos. Let's try it again. There you go. Rotate control. There you go. See that? Now it's kind of rotating from the edge of the box there, right? And again, it's working the exact same way that the pivot point thing is working because it's not saving. It's not a new control. This is not an offset control here. It's actually saving keys on this control. It's just translating the translate around. But it's smart enough to kind of actually recognize where certain pivot points are. Like it actually can recognize the edges of the box on there. And it's starting to be a little weird here. There we go. So if I go to key later on, actually it'll recognize where that lid is versus everything else. So you can have proxy controls set up to do this stuff, and that they exist on a lot of Unreal's rigs here. You can see this is a proxy control for the fingers. So when you bend his fingers, it's actually not it's not that's not an all control. It's not a set driven key or anything. It's actually rotating the three controls here. So the best part about that is I can use that to kind of get the fist I want, but then I can tweak them individually if I want to after that. Um, One feature I'd recommend on here, because you will find it's a little tricky to pose out the hand sometimes, because these characters come in with this auto interpolate on. Actually, let's go to the other hand. I think I've already turned it off on this one. So if I grab this control and kind of spread it out and spread it in, you see how it's manipulating multiple characters, multiple controls at the same time. This is where you can just turn this feature off here. So you just go in here, turn that feature off. It's on the edge of that joint, and it's on the pinky, so it's on those two controls. Once you have those two turned off, posing out this hand is normal. Like the fingers all work independently. That control is great but I find doing unique hand poses, it can get in the way. So I turn it off to turn on to unique hand poses. But then once I'm getting all that little tiny squash and stretch, it actually adds a lot to the shot. So it's a pretty cool feature that way. Um, Cool. Jumping in there. So game advantages and control rigs, again, we talked about this, the bones and control rig are separate and independent from each other. And control versus proxy controls on there. So baking animation, we talked about that, you take that walk cycle and bake it down and you have like a separate baked file that you could load in. Splining the body. Oh yeah, and here's two other advantages to working in Unreal here. If I go into here, levels. If I load up this, I'm not going to save. So I mean, with Unreal being a game engine, you could take advantages of all the other cool things of working in a game engine, like things like weather and lights and stuff. That's one of the things I'm finding myself doing is I'm animating lights for comedic value or drama or stuff. I'm animating lighting and stuff like that. But I have full advantage of seeing what the character is gonna look like and getting all that kind of fresh rain here on this and kind of making sure the character feels good on this. So this is stuff that the game engines are really good at doing. They're kind of good at kind of making things look really nice and polished from the get-go. This is the advantages of using real-time animation or real-time running stuff in real time that way. That works really nicely. Other things that game engines are good at doing that you can take advantage of is um, don't save ground. Is this idea. Here's my walk again. Here's my character walking. Let's say my environment changes on this one. Let's say this is walking on a slope. My character's now walking up a slope, right? I can make changes to the environment, and I can actually set up. What this is set up is this is a ground control rig. And this is where we actually, this is instead of a full body control rig, this recognizes where the ground level is and adjusts your animation to kind of keep track of that. If I don't want to use this, I could just take it off. I could just remove it, or I could just add it to it. And so we've always had that problem where the environment is a little bit different than before, and if I want to have this character suddenly walk up something, and it's not obviously it's not perfect. His feet aren't going to this, but now I either have the option of either baking this down to control rig, bake it down to the control rig, or I can put that additive control rig on it. I could say, where's my control rig on here? I could put an additive control rig on here somewhere and kind of tweak the controls that way. So actually, I think it's right in here. Up there it is, control rig layered there. And so now I have the full body controls here, which I could then kind of tweak these poses to be maybe push off a little bit, kind of to a little bit tweak to the animation on this to allow it to feel like it's now connected to the ground, or maybe not get them so high from there. So get that kind of feel into there. It's a little bit offset there because there's a layer issue. You just need to tell the layer which one to be on. But you can make tweaks and stuff. That's stuff that game engines are used to, like having characters run around uneven terrain. You actually can set up your uneven terrain and have the characters kind of running up and down hills on there, all using the same base thing. And then you could always either bake it down to the control rig and get rid of that control rig, or you can do it the other way around. So you have some definite advantages working that way. So um, oh yeah, okay, and I'm play blasting. So, last thing to kind of cover is play blasting. If you want to kind of render this out, you want to you basically this is how you play blast. It's this little movie file here under sequencer. It opens up the movie render queue. You could always open up movie render queue independently, but that's the easiest way to get it. And then you just need to tell it the settings that you want it to save as. Just by adding this plus button. Because right now it's just going to play blast out a JPEG sequence. For me, for animation purposes, that's not really a comfortable way of kind of testing and see if my animation works. Um, you can do I think there's an AVI option, and then I think uh, there's another one here, but I don't use them because I feel like they're a little bit too much. Come on, where is it? High resolution game override bug. Oh, here, Apple ProRes. I was looking in the wrong spot. This Apple ProRes will spit out a movie file. Honestly, the Apple ProRes is pretty good. It's kind of big. It's kind of a large file, and I find it kind of gets in the way a little bit. So this is a little kind of getting into the weeds of the technical difficulties of it. Some people are comfortable with this, but I'd recommend honestly just going and downloading a MPEG encoder. This is a website I recommend going to grab this control. You just want to find any MPEG encoder that it does this as an executable on there. And once you're in there, go back to your project settings and just add this information. You just need to tell the path where that thing exists and put in these settings into here. Once you have that going in there, then all you have to do is add the console variable on here. You gotta just get rid of the ProRes. I still need to leave the JPEGs on, and then you just set up all. You could add like anti-aliasing and other stuff to kind of make it look pretty. Once you've done all these settings, I recommend playing around with it. You can actually save the preset as. So it takes a while to do the first one, but then you just basically load in the preset there. So here's all the concept variables and kind of getting all that cat going, and then you could just output it to. This is just where you're going to save it as. So I have it saved just to a playblast folder and to accept, and then you could just launch the render and just kind of render it out, and that way you have like the movie file version of what you want to use. So it is a game engine. This is going to run the game as it goes along, and then you have a movie file to work with. So it'll take a hot minute to get that going, but that's basically it. And this is a good time to ask any questions if you have any questions.
That was awesome. Now I
Cool.
can't wait to just download it and start playing.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
have the Unreal, but all of these other tools like that MPEG, that's the huge being able to play Blast as an MP4, like
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
more huge files. That's gonna be
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
nice.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
because we as animators generate so many move files. We're testing and kind of making sure, yeah, it's good to keep that small. So, but yeah, it's
uh,
good.
cool. So we've
Cool.
got a bunch of questions here. I know we've
Please?
technically got about 9 minutes left before
Sure.
the end of the webinar here.
Yeah.
Um, would you be okay with extending that for like maybe an extra 5 minutes just to go
Yeah.
over as many of these
Yeah,
questions as we
please.
can?
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's kind of just start from the top here. So one of the big questions that a lot of people had was regarding the rigs
Hmm.
and uh, which rigs can be used for Unreal. So for example, can you just take any Maya rig, bring it
Yeah.
in and import it into Unreal or Blender rigs or anything like that?
There's a bunch of movie files or that you can or sorry, YouTube videos you can see about how do you get the rigs to work in Unreal. Essentially it just comes to has to be a game ready rig. So if you search for rigs, it has to just look for something that has the term game ready. And all you really is you need to have the bone structure needs to be all under one root, so you can't have any constrained bones together. And then the geometry needs to be under its own thing. Set-driven keys and stuff won't translate, so things have to be on morph targets and stuff like that. So, but so it has to be under those things. But there's plenty of game engine ready rigs you could just bring in there. Unreal Marketplace has a bunch that you could just purchase and they work in Unreal. So it's relatively easy to find that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, you do need to, and if you're smart enough, you could actually tweak any kind of rig to so that the bone structure and the model stuff is separated like that. So, but yeah.
That's awesome. And for anyone who doesn't know, the Unreal Marketplace is a fantastic resource. There's so much stuff, and they
Hmm.
offer like free stuff every month. So I highly recommend just even if you're not going to start right away, download the Unreal Marketplace and just start getting the free stuff every month. Build a library of
Yeah,
really cool things. So when you do use it, you have it.
yeah, 100%.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
we also had a bunch of questions regarding the picker.
Hmm.
Um, we saw that Unreal had that picker for
Hmm.
the character. Is that something that comes with Unreal? And if so, is that something that you have to set up yourself, or do the rigs come with their own pickers?
Unreal technically comes with a picker. It's more of a complicated question. It the picker honestly is one of the more technical things I've had to work with to get Unreal to work, but it's vital for getting your stuff to work. What you need to do is you need to download a MetaHuman, and then MetaHumans again are free. You can get them from Quixel Bridge, and here you basically go and find your MetaHuman thing. You just create any MetaHuman you want, and the MetaHuman will come with the picker. You don't necessarily have to use any of these if you want to. They're kind of cool. They have actually really cool features, but in the MetaHuman folder, if I could find this, whoops. Again, there's tons of information about this out there, but under the MetaHuman folder, under common, let me get this stuff out of the way. Under common, it's two commons. Utilities, you'll find something that looks like here. This is the MetaHuman control grid picker. This. And so, and you basically, in order to run it, you have to actually say run air utility widget, and this actually runs the widget, and this lets you pick that stuff. This is made for the MetaHuman. Going in there and you actually, if you open it, So this is the editor, and there's ways you can kind of go in here and change the blueprints and stuff like that. And that's why I say it starts getting much more technical there. Once you get it going, it works fine. Once you get your head around that basic idea of how to tweak those widgets, it works great. And then you could actually have this thing running for your character on there. So that's kind of the basic idea. But
That's awesome and very complicated at the same
yeah,
time.
Kevin Freeman has a bunch of videos on how to
Oh,
make your
nice.
own metahuman picker on there. He's got 4 or 5 videos on that, and that's kind of
Nice.
where I learned most of my stuff. So,
And that's on YouTube?
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Ask a Dev is the name of his handle. So,
Nice.
yeah, and
Uh,
there's a bunch of others, but cool. Go ahead.
cool. And then in terms of the animation tools, regarding the graph editor, do you find that the graph editor is similar to something like Maya, or are there limitations or like pros to the Unreal graph editor compared to
It's
the Maya?
Graph Editor has a look and feel of Maya on there. There's like 1 or 2 other curve features. Like they have a ones that kind of live set up auto tangents, but like everything's the same. It's got the step mode, it's got linear mode, and all this stuff. So it handles braking handles, all this stuff is it's essentially the same. They're the buttons are in slightly different places, but they're it's pretty much the same thing. But yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
The graph editor is one of my favorite tools, so the fact that it's a good, strong one is always a
Yeah.
plus.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, now, with Unreal, and this is something where I'm sure it's going to keep improving because every version they seem to be like updating so many things every time.
Yeah.
But currently, are there any limitations to using rigs or animating in Unreal opposed to something like Maya? So, for example, FKIK switching, constraints, things like that.
Uh, not really. I mean, it again, it's all as good as the rig is. I mean, it just like in Maya, like if the arms aren't set up for doing switching, it won't be able to do the switching kind of thing. So, my studio rig there, the switching between FK and IK still needs a little bit of tweaking. It's not 100% working. But the control rigs for that Epic has, for their ones, for Bungee Boy and everything there works, just it works great. It works really nicely. So. Yeah, so yeah, FKIK switching is really based on how well the control rig is set up to do that. It's not that hard to get it going. It's just more of kind of maintaining it. That is the thing. What was the other question? IK switching? You had another thing?
Yeah, FKIK switching and then constraints. Is that something where Unreal has a version of constraints? You
Yeah,
showed the baking element, but can you actually have a character like pick something up and then
yeah.
drop something?
There's 3 constraints. There's the attach where you just permanently attach 2 things together. There's a constraint system that's set up in the sequencer, which from the 5.2's version was actually really bad. It didn't work. 5.3 kind of worked. 5.4 has gotten a lot better. I've had a peek under the hood of 5.5. It's a lot better. They're very aware of the issue. Like essentially constraints existed outside of the sequencer and now it exists inside the sequencer. So that make a long story short. But yeah, it's pretty good there. So but yeah, that you basically can set that up. You basically all the constraint system, without getting into the weeds, is under that same animation shelf on there. If you scroll to the bottom, it says constraints, and just you basically the same way you would do it in Maya, you select the parent, you select the child, you click add, make sure you're on the right frame, and it works more seamlessly for the switching between on and off because it uses the game engine stuff to maintain the world space stuff, which is what Maya struggles with when you need the on off thing. Maya really struggles with that. You're great for turning it on, horrible for turning it off. But this one it recognizes world space a little bit better. I feel so. But yeah,
That's really cool. And then you mentioned the animation area. So that animation tab with all of
yeah,
the tools on the bottom right there. Is
yep.
that something that is default in the new versions of Unreal, or is that an extra plugin that you have to download?
No, this is part of Unreal. You get this thing. So
Nice.
yeah. If you go into animation or if you click on any control, all this stuff will automatically load up. So this is here. So here's a constraint thing right here. So you basically open this up and then basically do both do selected and then the add button. You could add your constraints to it. So yep. it works pretty well here. Again, 5.4 is definitely a huge improvement from 5.3. And what I've seen of 5.5 is already better on that. So yeah,
That's really cool. Just to see that iterative improvement, like from one version to the next to the next,
yeah,
it makes me excited what's happening going to happen in 5, 6, and
yeah,
like beyond.
yeah. They're 100% on an upward slope as far as improving the tools and stuff like that. There's some really neat
Nice.
stuff coming up. So yeah,
And then just regarding the sequencer, since we were talking about that, there were a few questions on, is there a way to scale the keyframes so you can retime
yeah,
animation?
hmm
And the same thing with the graph editor is, are you able to scale the keys within there?
yeah, 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 yeah. Let's see. Go back to share screen. I'll just stay here. But um, don't have a lot of keys in here. Do I have sequencer? Well, I have the master control. Transform. Yeah. I mean, here you could literally just kind of grab these keys and kind of literally translate them down because I'd probably open up another level that has more keys in it. So, but yeah, you could because I don't want to waste people's time, but like because this collapses, you can actually grab all these keys and kind of like translate them all over, and this will scale everything that's under the collapsed version of it. You could also just use the scale feature here, um, like the scale controls, like translate, rotate, scale, and the same with sequencer. If I go into here, it's freaking out because of all my controls here. Yep. So there's two ways you could do this. Right here, there's a lot of extra features. Let me just pull this out. I just do that. Um, where's my controls? Missing a couple of controls here. Oh, I'm in the sequencer. Duh. No wonder I couldn't find the controls. There we go. This is the hazards of doing stuff live. There we go. No wonder that was looking weird. All right. So there we go. There we go. All right. All right. Um, Yeah, you have this feature here. There's your scale control here. So this is actually set up pretty cool. It works like a lattice. You can scale things this way, or you can scale things this way. And this you can set this to right. This set the first key. You can have an average, where it just picks the average around all your keys, or you could bound around the center, where it kind of just does it like mathematically in the center here. And this is kind of cool with multiple keys. If you have like multiple channels and you just want to tone down the animation instead of scaling everything around to zero, where you may have like a slight animation on one and a big animation on another. Instead of everything all scaling at the same time, because if you set things to average, it will average between each curve. So and that's helpful because translates are always smaller than rotates. So it will scale them individually from their individual perspective on there. And again, you could be more mathematical right here if you want. But you get in first key, last key, and you can kind of get that kind of feature there if you want to do that stuff. So, yeah, you have all this the scale countries. So, that cool?
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
And one last question, because I know we're a little over
Please,
time right here.
please keep
And
going.
this is kind of a little bit of a broader one.
Mhm.
So there might not be a full answer to this, but for someone who is starting out learning animation, a lot of
Mhm.
people were wondering what's the best place to start. Like Unreal has some really great animation tools. You've got Blender, you've got Maya. Should they be focusing on one or another? Are the skills interchangeable? Uh,
Yeah, it's
what's the best way to start in this?
well, if you're just starting out and just getting your feet wet, the software package doesn't matter as much as just learning to animate, So, um, Unreal does have some technical hurdles to get through to get going in animation and stuff. There's no problem with actually getting started in Unreal and working, but you have to just keep in mind that learning to animate is different than learning a software package. And so when you're starting at the beginning, I would get you to focus primarily on just learning to animate, whether that's in Blender or the Maya or 3ds Studio Max, doesn't matter as long as most you put all your focus on weight, where the center of gravity is, posing, how to do in-betweens, thinking about your spacing, because none of that changes from software to package to software package. It's just the principles of animation. So, because you have to learn how to animate and you have to learn how to use a software package, and those are two kind of different things. And so you can know how to use a software package and not be able to animate because you don't know how to animate, or you can know how to animate and not how to use a software package. So both of them take time to get used to. So it takes time to get used to Maya, same time as it takes time to get used to Unreal, at the same time it gets used to learning to animate. Unfortunately, you kind of have to learn both at the same time a little bit, but you do have to recognize they're two different things. They're like learning to animate and learning how to use software are fundamentally different things. I think it's the art and crafts kind of thing. So you want to kind of keep it that way. So if you're getting started, I'd stick with whatever animation software package you're comfortable with right now. Just focus purely on just animating and kind of getting the most out of animation. And then as you get more confident, more comfortable, branch out because not being reliant on one software package, being able to kind of branch out and use the same skills on multiple software packages does give you an edge to working at different studios or different stuff like that. So for me, from my experience, when I got started in Softimage, and I worked at Rhythm Hughes that had its own proprietary software. Then I worked at Pixar, which had its own proprietary software. Then I worked at DreamWorks, had its own proprietary software. It wasn't until like 15 years in my career that I actually started using Maya, on getting that. And so I've had to learn the hard lesson of like just taking that animation skills from software package to software package. So me taking all that knowledge into Unreal it's the same thing. It's just kind of learning a new package. So is that cool?
That's at least five different animation softwares right there.
Well, software is just software.
Yeah.
It's about posing and breakdowns and in betweens. And if you understand that, then it's really just like, okay, they use the S key to save a key. This one uses the
Yeah.
P key. You just need to figure that out. Once you have that, you're good. So,
That's awesome.
but yeah,
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to
sure,
do this. Now, for everyone here, we will be continuing this for about another 15 minutes or so with Tim and Mars, who are the student success coaches at Animation Mentor. So if you have any questions about that, definitely let us know. But before we jump into that, again, huge thank you, Ethan, for doing this. This was amazing. Just a huge amount of amazing animation information.
sure,
Uh,
yeah,
for everyone here, thank you so much for watching all of this and all of your questions. We didn't even get through a fraction of your questions. So if
sure.
you do want to see more of this and you want another webinar, definitely let us know. Like this is awesome stuff. I enjoy it. Do it for me. Let me experience more of this. Uh,
Nice, cool.
but again, thank you so much, Ethan, for doing this. I really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you. Take care, everybody. Have fun. Cool.
Thanks, Ethan.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Uh, and everyone, welcome Mars and Tim. They'll take over here. So if you have any questions about Animation Mentor or just school in general, animation in general, feel free to
Yeah,
ask away.
I'm not gonna lie to you. That's that's pretty hard to follow. Uh, after watching all that and here, I mean, that's just absolutely amazing to see some of the stuff that they're doing in Unreal.
Did you get all of it, Tim? Or are you
I
ready?
got most of it. I got
Yeah.
most of it.
Are,
I took
are,
notes. It's a bunch of scribbles, but I took.
are you ready to tweak your blueprint for your metahuman picker?
I'd love to have a metahuman.
Well, cool.
Very
Well,
cool.
well,
Yeah.
yeah. Thanks everybody. So awesome to have all of you here, and yeah, that was such an amazing webinar. Um, So, in case you don't know, Animation Mentor is an online animation school. That's what we do, right? We teach animation here. So, Ethan was just giving us some great tips. Where do you start?
Yeah.
How do where do you get started? We have some really great classes for that. The Maya workshop is a perfect place to start if you're brand new to animation. That 6-week class is a great place to start to work your way up into using Unreal game engine and stuff like that. So.
Look at Laura. Look at Laura right there, real quick. Coming up on your 20th anniversary AM.
That's
Holy
true.
smokes. That's an OG right there, Laura. Thank you so much.
2005, we were founded, March of 2005.
Man,
Yeah.
good call, good call. Yeah, look at OG, exactly. Yeah, Mars is right. If you're thinking about doing this stuff, Maya is the best place to start. We got a bunch of options for you. There's some people that are joining us that are current Animation Mentor students, alumni, and people that have never experienced Animation Mentor that are kind of hanging out in this thread right here.
Yeah.
And what's really cool is that, Ethan's one of our mentors here. He teaches classes with us. He's fabulous, as you could obviously tell. But we're also running a couple of new things here. We're doing our new game animation program.
Yep.
So if you want to get a steady dose of this stuff, the game animation program is our newest addition to the curriculum here. The first 3 classes are animation basics, body mechanics, and advanced body mechanics, which are the same first 3 for character animation because they
Yep.
are foundational skills that you need to have. But then it switches gears, and you're going to go into, the game animation curriculum, which is the interactive gameplay, cinematic. And again, they're using Unreal, they're using Maya. So the stuff that Ethan was talking about is definitely going to help you to kind of, catapult you forward. But starting out in one of the basic classes is kind of where you're starting. Christopher had one. Can you jump from A&06 to game animation program, or are we forced to choose one another? That is a killer question. We had a lot of students that are in the same exact position as you. You could jump over from AN06. I would finish AN06, to be honest with you, since you're already there, and then jump over into the game animation program. You're going to start at class 4 and then just have those 3
GA04.
Yeah, so I think that that's a good move.
Yeah, and as a graduate of Animation Mentor, if you finish that, you're AN06, you'll be considered a graduate of Animation Mentor.
Yeah.
You get some special alumni pricing on several courses, the game animation courses and the creature animation courses as well.
No doubt. Yep.
So that's
Good call.
that's a good way to do it. I think that's good advice. Cool. Yeah. So feel free to use the chat here or the Q&A panel. If you guys have any questions about Animation Mentor, Tim and I can, we can blab for hours about this stuff.
Yeah, totally. Julia, thank you for your answer. I need to do the acting after classes 3, or the animation program will give me the acting necessary. Yeah. Well, it depends on you, on which direction you want to head. We released this the game animation program because there was a calling for it. There's a lot of
demand
interested in it, demand for it. And so we did that, and we reached out to a lot of our current students and then people who've never come here before and said, look, this is the program that we're offering. And we had so many current students that are like, oh my God, I always wanted to become a game animator. So now let me jump over there into that side. So if you choose to do that after class 3, it's a strong move. I like it. If you are into games and want to become a game animator, I would do it.
That's awesome. Cool. Any other questions? We can tell you a little bit about some of the terms that are coming up. We've got our fall term that's coming up. Plenty of time for that, starting September 23rd. So if you're interested in getting started, right away, you can sign up for that Maya workshop starting September 23rd. You can contact us. We can talk to you more about it, and that'll prep you for the character animation program starting in the winter term, January 2025, January 6th, I believe it is.
Yeah.
And if you have Maya experience already, if you're already familiar with the graph editor, setting keyframes, stuff like that, you can go ahead and get started with the character animation program in the fall term as well. Or if you do have even more experience, that maybe you have a demo reel already, you can send that in. And we've been seeing a lot of great demo reels actually recently. Some even professionals. I've been talking to some pros that are actually working in the industry in character animation, but they want to make that switch over into game animation. You can send us your demo reel along with your application. What we do is we'll have our mentors review your demo reel and place you in the best class for your skill set. So not everyone has to start from the beginning. We understand that some of you may already have animation experience, and that's what the advanced placement program is for.
Yeah, and with regards to Chris up there, Chris had a question: how do you proceed after one graduates? Do we start applying, or does AM help alum get jobs? Well, I can tell you this: our job board is on the student resources tab on the student campus that not only do current students have access to, but alum will forever have access to that. That thing is updated pretty much every day with gigs from around the world on there. And so that's kind of our part in that, is we provide you with the freshest opportunities that are out there. And it shows you where the studio's at. Is it remote? Is it on site? Is it a hybrid? What skills are they looking for? What level are they looking for? So Chris, I would definitely, if you're an alum or a current student, the name looks familiar, I'm not sure, but definitely check it out. If you're not a student, definitely check it out. And you can actually see that job board on the campus tour. There's actually a quick clip of that in there, as a matter of fact.
Yep. David Steffen's got a good question here. I graduated with class 6 in 2008. Can I jump into the 4th class?
Wow.
Yes, absolutely. So you've finished class 6, you're a graduate. You can start off with GA04 if you'd like. Yeah, that is totally possible. You should definitely reach out to us. We'll help you get into that one if you'd like.
Super OG right there.
All right, 2008.
Nice work. Good. Do you have any programs? Oh yeah, Dante, do you have any programs for people who already have a degree in animation but would just like to push to improve their demo reel? Well, Dante, I can tell you this. Mars had kind of touched on that with the advanced placement stuff. So having a degree in animation is great, but you should have a demo reel that sort of backs that degree up. And so if you want to jump into a class or actually see where you would fit in within our curriculum, I would submit an application for advanced placement. It's free to apply. And what we'll do is send the demo reel over to one of our mentors for review. They'll check it out. They'll frame by frame it. They'll zoom in. They'll do all those things, right? And then they'll come back with a review that shows you exactly what they saw that worked well with it, but needed a little bit of help. And then also where we would place you within our courses here. If you're looking at getting into our sort of our character animation program or the game animation program, if you're looking to push your demo reel and you're like, oh, how can I do that? Cartoony animation for 3D animators is a killer course. That's a really good one. Mars touched on the creatures course a bit earlier. Taking a creature, how does one have a dragon coming in and like, I mean, that's pretty sweet to have something like that in your reel as well. I would dig it. So those are some of the other things that you can do as well.
Winter is coming.
Yes, it is.
Don't remind me. It's Canadian winter here. It's gonna be 6 months. I don't want winter to come.
Yeah, it makes its way over here, over the lake.
Wow, look at Renee. 2005 first class, and first class in 2 meanings, first class, and then first class as a student. I dig that.
Nice. Makai's got a question here. I've been speaking with Makai, so I'll just answer this one quickly. How do you guys make your character rigs? I want to make my own too. We do have a 3D character modeling workshop. So if you're interested in learning how to model, those are some really great classes taught by Hong Chan Lim, amazing character artist. One thing we don't cover is rigging, though, so that's kind of a crucial part there in between, modeling and animation. That's definitely something that we're looking at, but we can definitely help you create some 3D models for sure.
Yep. Brianna has one. She was a student at AM and had to take a break due to COVID-19. A lot of folks did. And I stopped in 2021 and stopped at ANO4. Would I still be able to sign up for advanced placement? I have learning on my accord. I've been learning on my accord ever since. Please do. We have a lot of students that are currently in class improving their skills as they go along, and they'll go ahead and submit another application for advanced placement just based upon the classes that they've taken with us. And some of them get bumped up to higher classes. So I say yes, and it's always good to do that so you can get a free review to kind of see where you're standing anyway.
Definitely. Great advice. Cool. What else?
What do we got? Oh,
I love that tune.
Oh, you like that? Steve has one too, right? He's asking about that.
Oh, yeah. How do I send my demo reel for review and placement suggestion? I was on the site and couldn't find where to submit. Maybe I missed something. So that is going to be part of the application process. So you'll find a green apply button all over our website.
It's
so if
probably
you just
going to be in your face here in just a second. I'll bet.
Yeah. So if you just go to animationmentor.com, it does say apply now right at the front of the homepage there. And there's information about advanced placement. And yeah, you can just go directly to animationmentor.com, click apply now, go ahead and fill out the application, include a link to your demo reel. I recommend a YouTube or Vimeo link, make sure that it's, easy to access. Sometimes we get broken links and things like that. So make sure you double check. Yeah, we'll get that in front of a mentor. We're pretty quick about it. Usually we have demo reels done in about a day or two.
Yep. Tick that little box on there too, Steve, where it asks you about advanced placement. Otherwise, that little drop down will open up for that link to be inserted.
Got to do it. Check the box. Now you know how to flip a box over.
Yeah, we do now. Oh, look at John. John T. I'm a former Maya Basics course student. If I'm interested in creatures, not so much characters for Pixar films, any class is possible, for I figure it's not such a great idea to jump into the creature course yet. John, You are correct. That is
Yeah.
a big one. That's kind of like, going on a tricycle and then going, I'm jumping into the Tour de France. You
I'm
know what
going
I mean?
right into Harley.
I'm doing it. Yeah, yeah. Or get jumping on Harley. So I would do. I would, if I was going to do that, you got to at least go through, animation basics, learn those principles,
Yep.
master those
Super important.
principles, adding some body mechanics in there, especially the advanced body mechanics where they're working on a lot more,
Yep.
action sequences, things like that. So you should have those skills under your belt before diving into the creature's course, because it could be a hard lesson to learn if you're not understanding how to work with locomotion, or the flight of a predatory bird or something like that, and you're just basically at that sort of basic walk cycle or ball bounce area, and you're like,
Yeah.
wow, so yeah, take your animation is a marathon, definitely not a sprint, so take your
Yeah.
time with it.
And that's what we're here for. That's what Tim and I do. We're student success coaches. We help you, when you're, whether you're a brand new student or you're experienced, student here at Animation Mentor. That's what we do. We're here to help you and guide you. You can think of us as academic advisors, and we help you, figure out the best path forward. So I think that's something that's very cool about our school, is that we have folks like us to help you and guide you through the education maze, and figure out the path that's going to help you achieve your animation goals.
Yep. I dig it. Cool. Laura, I'll see, you got to read that Laura one. That's a good one.
The whole reason AM started was to craft a different kind of student from the perspective of animation pros who wanted to guide people towards real world
I'm
experience.
taking these off and walking away. I'm out of here. That was bad. That's it.
That was a quote. Yeah, it was like
Right.
That's awesome.
I'm thinking I'm guessing that that might be a tattoo that Laura has. Is that a tattoo? A little bit wordy, but it's super cool.
That's pretty good. Thanks for sharing that. Well, we encourage you to contact us. There's lots of ways to get a hold of us. I tell everyone we're professional responders. So that's what we do. So reach out to us if you've got more questions, if you're ready to sign up. Check out animationmentor.com. There's a lot to see on the website. I was just talking with a student earlier and they told me, your website's very robust. I was like, it is. There's a lot of information there. The blog, check out the blog too, because that's where these, if this is your first time at a webinar, this is not our first time at a webinar. We've been doing these, and they live on our blog site. So make sure you check that out. You can reach out to us on LinkedIn. You can reach out to us on Facebook and Instagram. You can send us email. Admissions@animationmentor.com goes right to me and Tim. So yeah, lots of.
Look at Rob. Rob Mars is the reason I picked AM. Look at that. Huh? That could be a tattoo for Rob.
Hey Rob, it's good to see you. I distinctly remember our conversations. We had some good conversations to start.
That's awesome.
And I love to see his progress. He posts all this great stuff on LinkedIn. I can't believe he's already in an ANO4 already.
It's crazy.
Cool.
Hey, John T, any sales for courses coming up? Very budget strapped right now.
Contact us.
Yes, we may have some magical discount fairy dust to sprinkle around here and there. So please reach out to us. We can talk about that stuff. We got some little things.
I always tell students, before you sign up, talk to us, because we might have a promo code or a discount or something like that. We've got things available.
Yep. Yeah. This is the best. Yes, it is. It's not bad.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. Very cool. I mean, I think we're good. I mean, we have a lot of great questions. Yeah, man. Outstanding. Dig it.
What a great webinar.
Yes. So thank you, Mars and Tim, for staying around and answering all those questions. Again, if anyone has more questions for Mars and Tim, feel free to reach out to them. Definitely get in contact, ask those questions. And once again, if you are interested in webinars like these in the future, especially more Unreal stuff, which again, I really enjoyed it. Do it for me.
Yes,
definitely reach out and let us know. We want to know what you want to see, what you want to know about in the future, so we can make more of these really cool things.